brothers and sisters. God bless. Well, where do we pick up at? Micah, the minor prophet, is here. Oh my. That was sometime around the time frame, the time period where I said I've got to get out of Ohio, got to get away from this church, got to try to clear my mind. And so I found myself on a Greyhound bus headed to Seattle. Somewhere around the first week or so of September 1983. It was a long trip, but it was a good trip. And so I ended up living in an apartment north of Seattle in a little town called Linwood. I started working for a painting contractor, and within a couple months, my family was able to come out and we began our new residence. Well, so I started my residency there in Linwood, Washington. The stepdad and my mother actually brought my family out. Things went pretty smooth, which I was glad for. And we actually visited a really nice church. When they came out, they said, "Have you been going to church anywhere?" And I said, "No." And so I said, let me look up some churches. So I found one down in Seattle. It ended up being an apostolic church. And so we went on a Sunday night. And that's a story all in itself, which was very, it was very inspirational, and certainly not something that I thought was going to happen when we visited that church. And maybe I'll tell a little bit about that later on. But nevertheless, fast forward. We started our residency there in Linwood, Washington, working for a painting contractor, just trying to pray, clear my mind of all of the stuff that I've been doing. Guess what? He gives me a call. Yes, the stepdad gives me a call not too long after I'd been out there, and he wanted me to help him start a church out there. Well, I could back up a little bit because there were some times in the past where he would mention every once in a while he would certainly like to have a church out in Washington State. That was his favorite state. He was out there in the Navy, and so he just loved the state, and he always wanted to start a church. So guess what? Since I was out there, he thought certainly I would be more than willing to help. Well, not bragging, but the good nature that I have, I said, sure, I'll do what I can. He said, well, start looking for, a little building, a storefront, something that, we could have services in. I said, okay, I'll do it. Well, I did find a building. It was a little log structure. It was actually pretty neat. And there was a little small house that went with the building, so that could be used as a parsonage. I'm guessing right now, but I would say the inside dimensions of the little log building was probably about 25 feet wide, maybe 30, 75 to 100 feet long. It had a platform. Of course, there were no chairs, no pews, no anything. So I told him about it. Well, I was able to send him pictures, and I can't remember how I did that now because we didn't have the capability with cell phones like we do now. But I sent him some pictures somehow. He said, and of course the price was right, so he wanted to get the paperwork all drawn up by the real estate agent, of which we did. We secured the building, but there was a family living in the house, which was okay because there was a lot of work that needed to be done as far as cleaning up, little remodeling on the inside because the building had been empty for quite some time. So, as I said, I found myself in the middle of starting a church there on the West Coast. So I never asked for any money. I started buying material myself. I remodeled it myself. I did a lot of remodeling in there. Of course, back then wood was cheap compared to what it is now. And so I would, when I would get off work from painting, I would go pick up some material and head over there and work for 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours in the evening. And it started taking shape. It actually looked pretty good. Well, the next step in the project was, of course, getting people to know that there was a new church starting. And actually, as I said, I lived in Linwood. And just a few miles up the road was another city called Everett, and it was actually in Everett city limits. By the way, the reason I jumped in my Jeep, it's so windy out there right now, and I'm sitting on the side of this mountain, and the wind is just really whipping. So I was afraid you wouldn't be able to hear me, so I'm sitting in my Jeep right now. Anyway, within 4 or 5 months, 6 months, somewhere in that time frame, uh, things had been going pretty good, pretty smooth, and then it began to take a turn for the worse. Very good brothers and sisters and friends of mine back at the church in Ohio started calling me, and they had questions. And the questions were very, very disturbing, to say the least. And the questions centered around, do you know what this move out to Washington State is all about? I said, well, all I know is he wants to start a church out there. Yes, that's true, but he's not so much from the pulpit, but through other channels, he's spreading the word that, oh my goodness. When I think back on this now, it just, of course, it blew my mind then, but it really blows my mind now. And this, I mean, that's many, many years ago, but still. Anyway, he was spreading the word that only the special elect was going to move from Ohio to Washington State. Special elect, the elect of God, his special elect. As I said, these were very, very good friends of mine and brothers and sisters in the Lord. So I said, oh, I don't know anything about that. So I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to give him a call, which I did. And he kind of hem-hawed around, but he didn't deny it. I said, what are you talking about? The special elect is going to move to Washington State. Well, he would say, and I'm not exaggerating, I'm not putting words in his mouth. He would say, well, some of the people back here, I've pastored them for years, and I think that they have went as far as they can spiritually, and I think the Lord wants to do something on the West Coast. I said, oh, I see. So those poor people that you've pastored for years, they're just out of luck, right? I mean, they can't go any higher. Spiritually, they can't go any higher with the Lord, so they're just going to have to stay back there in Ohio and subject themselves to whatever minister you decide to put in place there as you make your trip out here to Washington State. Well, that's pretty much the summation of everything. And I said, well, to me, that's you're really going to continue to take their money. Those people have poured who knows how many thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into your ministry, into the church, all these years. And now you've just decided that they're not spiritual enough to make the trip and move to Washington State because there's a special elect from the church there in Ohio that's going to move out, and then the rest of them will be picked up out here in Washington State from various areas, I guess. And that was the conclusion. So we were at a crossroad here. What was I going to do? I prayed. I committed it to the Lord. And I just continued on in the motion of everything, and was just praying that God's will be done. But I knew that this special elect group that's moving out from Ohio, first of all, my own gut told me that wasn't going to happen. And because, these people had that, some of the people that, he thought was going to move with him, I mean, these people had good jobs, they had families, they had children. And I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened before. Cult leaders have taken their special elect to all places of the globe. But I think I just thought I knew them people well enough. They just weren't going to make the journey. So I just continued on. And I'm going to stop right there and pick it up in the next video. And I want to really thank you for watching these videos. I trust it's inspiring, enlightening, helpful. And like I said in the last video, remember, every one of us has a story, and it has a significance and a purpose that God would want to use. So I hope that mine is being used now to really inspire you and give you some insight into things that take place in the real world. So until next time, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Give me thumbs up, thumbs down, comments, questions, whatever. And remember, I'm available for speaking engagements, seminars. Of course, I give my testimony, and there's a list of other subjects that I can speak about. So you can find me on my email, lewisle620 at gmail.com. And until next time, God bless, protect your freedom, and remember, Jesus Christ is the only way, the only truth, and the only life.